Hey, Guru Nation, welcome back to the Clinical Trials Guru, and special thank you for everyone listening on iTunes, on Google Play, on Stitcher, wherever you're listening on the podcast. This is episode 99. Wow, we're going to have one more. We're going to do something special on the next one. I haven't figured it out yet, or maybe not. Maybe we'll wait till episode 500 for something special. But I've got Dr. Mack on today. Dr. Mack is a technologist, a healthcare futurist. I mean, you're just involved in so many different things, Dr. Mack. How's it going?
I'm doing well. Just moved to Raleigh from Tampa and been up here about 8 days, 9 days. And so I haven't hung up everything in the office here or got everything in place where I want it. But more opportunities up here. Crucial Data Solutions has some larger clients up here and so forth. And there's just more opportunity just to network with other research companies, CROs, that kind of thing.
And
But
crucial data
that's about
solutions. What do you guys do?
We make the company I work for now makes software for clinical trials, and I'm on two boards. One is a new one for pediatric rare disease. It's Cure. It's for. Let me see if I can. Sorry, you're gonna have to edit this.
Loving the mic too.
Yeah, right. It's
So lots of
okay.
tech,
So
lots of
Cure
tech stuff.
H. Yeah, it's Cure AHC. Sorry, and it's a basically a genetic disorder that the children that have it have ATP issues with converting potassium and the channels for that. So I just got on board with that, and it's I got to learn a lot more about it. But it's in preclinical right now. As time goes on, I get more familiar with the disease. It's about 1 in 200,000, and it's it's there's a few thousand children,
Hmm.
several thousand worldwide. So I'm just now getting into understanding the genetic markers for that. So
Okay.
I'm volunteering for that. So yeah, but you wanted to ask me about Amazon.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about Amazon, but just so that we can establish some context, because I know we've done a few interviews, but some people are watching, listening for the first time. So you were involved in the research site portion of clinical research, is that correct?
I've done anything from writing protocols to writing investigators brochures for American Biotech Labs to overseeing how trials were organized. We were running those over in India predominantly. We had one in Europe. We did a lot of lab work in with Nelson Labs. So I've done that. I've done some stuff with some remote phase four research for efficacy. I
Mm-hmm.
got two little projects going now, and then I'm still working on getting a phase two started for extending the efficacy of Botox using a nanoparticle, and that's in Canada. So we did 17 participants initially in the phase one of that, and found the average efficacy time was extended to 9 months, and zero adverse events reported even from 14 is when they started that, and
Okay.
they ended at 15. So really good record as far as safety
Mm-hmm.
and that type of thing, and the effectiveness really is there. So it's basically organizing and funding phase two for that, and then my day job is uh, chief medical technology officer for Crucial Data Solutions, and then another little company called Zircon Technologies that does
Mm-hmm.
EDC, EHR to EDC or EHR to EHR conversions.
Mm-hmm. So you really have like a comprehensive understanding of end to end in clinical research, like the entire spectrum. So we can talk anything we wanted to. But I wanted to talk about was Amazon getting involved in maybe clinical research, but certainly getting involved in pharma and at least pharmacy stuff, right? And of course, they're integrating technology into all that. And then I wanted to talk about what a research site, what Dr. Mack thinks a research site will look like in the year 2020, right? It's so far away, yet it's so close, Dr. Mack.
Yeah, we're only what 3 years from that. So
That's
I
right.
think what's interesting. I got an email from one of the marketing people, Crucial, or no, it was from Bridget. She sent it to me, and basically, I got headhunted about 3 weeks ago by Amazon by a senior recruiter. I have not
Ah,
responded to him yet.
you have not.
Right, and he reached out to me because he found something either on LinkedIn or Indeed or something. But I started looking into it, and it makes sense. And then I believe it was Friday or Thursday of last week, Amazon. There was an article talking about Amazon getting into clinical research. What I see it as, this is just my thoughts. I don't know anything about the company. I think it's quite interesting. We're working with Verily on a few trials, so that's a device, that's part of Google. And, so it's starting out where the Googles, all these companies that are non-traditional medical device and or research groups are starting to get into this. And it is a trend where we're seeing the switch going back from CROs to going back to the either a pharmaceutical company or a device company actually starting to run their own trials to
Really?
try to cut
Can you?
costs.
That's such an important statement. Can you repeat that?
Well, it's not my opinion. It's kind of what I've heard from other people, and I don't know if the trend is a huge trend or it is shifting. Though there's the people that I know that are wired into hiring and headhunting for the industry for clinical research industry is the trend is going to now back to large pharma hiring teams to do research directly.
Is that because of the GCP revisions in 2016 with the whole sponsor oversight and all that?
I think it's purely financial. I
Really?
mean, I think it's purely financial. I think they're seeing, the IQVIA, which was formerly Quintiles. I think that's how you say it, IQVIA.
Yeah, I don't even know their new name. I still call them
IQVIA
quintiles.
is, they're going to still, the large CROs are still going to be doing this, but I think they're seeing a trend that the small and medium CROs are going to have to become more efficient. If they don't, I think it's going to go back in house. And that's what she's seeing on the hiring side is she's seeing more positions opening as direct as opposed to CROs looking for a research associate and that kind of thing.
Interesting. So Amazon reached out to you, a headhunter. Was that to get you as a consultant or as an employee, or what
No,
was it?
it's an employee position. Like I said, I haven't investigated it. I got an email. I looked at the guy. He's a senior recruiter. I pulled him up on LinkedIn. I'm working with their recognition platform first, and I've kind of put it on a back burner because I moved. But basically, for doing image searching, so we can set up a clinical trial and actually set it up to look for imaging initially, and then maybe get into AP chest X-rays, how things have changed.
Hmm,
So the software can tell the difference between one image and another, whether
interesting.
that's a percentage or a size or dimension or anything else that may have changed.
And that's
So
an
we're
Amazon. That's an Amazon
that's an
technology.
Amazon product. Yeah, it's called Recognition, and it's it's probably the next generation you'll see it where it can actually compare X-rays. But at
Hmm.
Crucial, Paul Grady and I are starting to talk about doing that as the next piece of the product. But going back to Amazon, the article that I was sent, and it ties in with what I thought initially was that they have, how many millions of people on their contact list. So if they come out with something close to a wearable device, let's just start off with a wearable device that may be a glucometer, a something like an Apple Watch where you have more of pulse activities,
Mm-hmm.
maybe it's a pulse ox, different things like that would lend themselves to doing certain clinical studies and trials. And this won't be the end all be all, but Amazon has the bandwidth to really recruit subjects
But do
if
they
they so
want
choose.
to get? Do they want to get into that space? I mean, it
I
seems
don't
like a lot
know.
of risk and not enough
Not inside
reward.
Jeff Bezos's head, but I think my gut reaction is definitely on device side. So, preventative medicine, monitoring people as a whole, getting into that kind of thing. Maybe a repository, but definitely, if you had a new device, you could theoretically come to Amazon and use at least their platform for site recruitment.
Hmm.
So, for the virtual trial, if you will, where you don't really have a brick and mortar site, but you're just recruiting people
Right.
for, and that goes back to what Google did. I posted something on LinkedIn. They got 10,000 people in that study on clinicaltrials.gov right now.
Oh,
And with
so I can go on clinicaltrials.gov and just look up Google and
Yeah,
I'll
look
find
up
it?
Google or Verily. It's out in the public. They've had it up
Interesting.
in June or May. Anyway, they're using 10,000 participants to make a base bench system. So you have 10,000 from all walks of life, 18 and up,
Hmm.
and they're using it as a bench to make a repository for reference. So then they can have a reference point for all these markers, if you will, and data points to compare new stuff as they start doing clinical research on other devices. So
Wow.
that's what I think is going to happen in the next 3 or 4 years. I really don't see them getting into pharmaceutical level stuff or nanotechnology or anything like that. But I think it's going to be more of a diagnostic wearable.
Wow. Yeah, I'm on ct.gov now. Just typed in Google, and it shows me 31 studies. Now,
Oh,
those are not all Google sponsored, but they're using different Google products. Like there's a Google Health search trial. There's a
yeah.
survey of Google Glass by orthopedic trauma patients, comparing Google with a focused diabetes search engine,
Yeah,
augmented
that's that
reality.
contact. That's that contact lens. They have that contact lens that they developed as a glucometer.
Okay. Yeah, virtual
So
reality by mobile phone, improving uh, anxiety and OCD using VR. So yeah, crazy. This is crazy. Let's see Amazon. So
I
basically, I mean,
I haven't looked for Amazon yet.
I found 68. I found 31 for Google. There's 68 for Amazon.
I guess we missed that boat, huh?
Well, one of them's about malaria in the Peruvian Amazon, so it's not the same Amazon.
Yeah, yeah.
One's with Amazon Alexa. This is interesting stuff nonetheless. I mean,
Yeah, I keep coming back to look at the platforms that they have, look at what their ability to where their abilities and strengths are as a company right now, where you could go with this.
mm,
I mean, what if we could find all these different markers that you could measure non-invasively? So that would be easy, PMA at worst, 510K at best to get through FDA. And now we have the ability to monitor people. So before they get overweight and become type 2 diabetics,
mm,
you can say, oh, you have a genetic marker to be predisposed to, type 2 diabetes.
yes.
Okay, well, now you can kind of follow this and it will monitor almost like a tricorder how the vitals are doing on a daily basis. And at that point, you can go review with your family physician every 6 months. Hey, here's how I'm trending. Here's what's happening. Now, go backwards, and then we can take all that information and then compare it to the drugs they're on, the genetic markers, the diagnosis and procedures they have done. And you got quite a repository there. You have a
Hmm.
lot of information that you can get, a lot of higher end math algorithms to compare everything and come out with some pretty unique correlations, I think. So I
Interesting.
think that's where they're really going with this is what would that be? What would that repository or database be worth to a Bayer or a Merck
Mm.
or a Sanofi? I think they
I
would.
think a lot.
I think they get a checkbook out. Maybe a licensing fee, license it so much per month. You have access to, so much data
So it would
until
help them basically pre-screen in order to run like large-scale studies, and then they'll have access to the patients when they're ready to do the phase 2 through 4.
right. You could do that. So
Hmm.
let's say you have the Google devices or the Amazon devices, and they've run their trials and they built this repository. and you're a medium size, let's say oncology, squamous cell carcinomas, and you want to look at, okay, we want people that have, in these 10 cities, we have a site, we have a brick and mortar, we have a Mohs surgery center. Okay, so you can go to Google and go, hey, who's had this before possibly, who's had the genetic markers for it, who's the Fitzpatrick 1, 2, and 3, and they go, oh, you can access these people, and we can advertise it for your trial for X amount of dollars. And the biggest challenge to clinical research right now is participant recruitment.
Oh,
So
number one by
in,
far. Yeah.
in 24 to 48 hours, you could have the pipeline full.
This is going to be incredible. So basically, what I'm hearing is everything's going to get more fragmented, right? CROs are going to become, well, the big ones aren't going anywhere, at least anytime soon. But by 2020, the smaller CROs, like mine, we're already doing more consulting type projects than actual CRO stuff. I mean, we have done a couple small CRO projects, but even those are just like glorified consulting gigs with an element of monitoring thrown in. So I do see that. I agree with you there. Now, from the site perspective, okay, the sites, they're not going to go anywhere by 2020, but as we discussed before, you might see more studies, but just more studies that fail quicker, right?
Yeah, correct. So I think we're going to see more virtual sites where we can see virtual sites. So when there's a non-invasive product that needs to be evaluated and cleared, let's say device by FDA. Sorry, I'm getting over a cold here.
Oh,
Um, that could be a virtual trial, if you will. The efficacy of a coronary stent. That's something that doesn't need to be in a brick and mortar. That's something that can be totally tracked virtually through the hospitals and inventory and everything else, and the technology is there for that. So that opens up a lot of stuff for compliance, for phase 4, for even how effective is it for a reimbursement for Medicare, Medicaid. Obviously, your phase 1s are never going to go away. They have to be brick and mortars, or that kind of thing. But I think you could see phase 3, depending on how it's structured, becoming more of a non brick and mortar, I call it virtual site, and that's where these companies are really going to take off. And Google's got just as much bandwidth to, target participants as Amazon would.
and Apple, right?
And Apple, I don't. Apple, if they are working on it, they're keeping it quiet.
Because
We
I joined
haven't
a virtual
seen.
trial on my iPhone. I mean, it was through the
Right.
Apple's platform, for sponsors that create virtual trials.
Right. I mean, we have an app. It's Trial Kit. Trial
Trial
Kit's
kit, that's right.
on Apple Watch and iPhone and Android, and that's a platform for eCRF and ePro, and that's pretty convenient. So I think Apple's going to be more of a hardware platform than a software at this point. I think going back to your original question, 2020, what does it look like? I think you're going to have a lot more big data, as these companies gather their baselines, if you will, of information, and then the genetic code and markers get into this, and that gets assembled with everything. I think we're going to see some quantum leaps in identifying very specific participants, whether that's geographic or demographic or certain markers. Will be a lot more savvy about how, who
Mm-hmm.
could roll in a trial based on that. But I think you're going to see definitely some new players in the market. I think
Yeah,
it's going to be quite interesting. It's going to be on the device side. I think if you
sure.
said what's going to look like in 20 years, I think on the pharmaceutical side, I think we're going to have software that you can design a new drug with, and it'll tell you based on your repositories how it might react in the body. So we can get into artificial intelligence for designing new drugs and actually just model it before we even use it on a person.
Mm-hmm.
But in the next three, I would say it's definitely going to be a device that's going to be non-invasive or very light, invasive type, micro nanoneedles or something like that for diagnostics. I think
Mm.
diagnostics are going to be huge. And going back to cardiology, imagine a device that you could have on your wrist that could tell you if you're going to have a heart attack or not. And
Right.
what's that worth?
Jeez. And
Yeah, huge.
this is sort of like paving the or laying down the infrastructure for 20 years from now. You'll be able to actually reverse engineer where you locate your sites or where you select your sites, your research sites. Because right now, the way it works is sponsor or CRO looks for sites. They look for sites that have experience. They look for sites that have done
Right,
well in the past. Or they look for sites with a lot of patients or sites that say they have a lot of patients, right?
right,
And then they'll
right,
select those sites. But in the future, it sounds like 10, 20 years from now, if these biomarkers and gene sequencing and all that stuff actually comes to fruition as far as being something that they could utilize, they'll reverse engineer the sites to where those patients are nearby, right? And then they'll say, okay,
right.
we need an we have like a pocket of these patients here in Nevada. We need some PIs in this area. And they even could
And
be
you could do
research
that.
naive patients or research naive PIs.
Right, right. Well, or you could just deploy somebody out,
Mm,
to start it up in that area, and that's been done before too. I mean, you have a lot of different projects where they'll basically create their own site because they have the population for it, and they bring their own people in and put their own people in, and the ramp up's what 3 to 6 months for something like that, more like six,
hmm.
maybe nine. But I think we'll have in the next 3 years. I think we'll start having the foundation of big data for a lot of different stuff, whether it's, something simple as heart rates and respiratory rates, all the way to genetic markers to lab values and changing it. And then by that time, I think we're going to see AI come into this, where you have artificial intelligence that can take this data, and whether it's an image or data sets, can analyze it and come up with, hey, this could be an AE, this could make it an SAE, because these combinations might not be favorable to what you're trying to do, and so we might see some better safety. We definitely, with technology, should see a lot cleaner looking trial. Audits for FDA should be simpler. Monitors can look at something live stream and see what's going on, and near real time. So we're going to have all that too, but that's kind of off subject. But yeah, Amazon, Google. I don't know what Apple's doing. I can't really think of. Obviously, IBM's involved in this.
Yeah,
The
Microsoft.
IBM
Yeah.
Watson Group
Hmm.
is I know they definitely have this in the probably the third or fourth chapter of their Watson book,
That's right.
that because I mean, why wouldn't you collect data?
Sure.
Why wouldn't you collect data with Watson?
And let's not underestimate Facebook. Okay, going forward.
Yeah, Facebook. I'm kind of opinionated on that. I don't have a Facebook account, but I'll tell you what. You can't argue with success, and to use Facebook to recruit participants, I'm surprised it's not more sophisticated than it is.
Right. Right. Yeah, we have a consulting company where we teach sites how to use Facebook ads. It's a powerful product. I also don't like Facebook, but I'm on there because I need to promote the brand and other people's brands and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to watch. So
Yeah.
thank you, Dr. Mack. I appreciate it. We'll have you on
Hey, thanks,
again,
man.
episode 99. If anyone wants to reach Dr. Mack, I'll have your LinkedIn profile linked underneath
Okay.
this
Yeah.
video. And if not, if you're listening, just search for Leigh, last name Mack, Mack, on LinkedIn. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Dr.
man.
Mack, and thank you everyone for watching, listening, and we'll catch you all later. Bye bye.
Okay. Bye.